1 year ownership with the FL5 Type R. Has it been worth it? Let's find out. What's up, guys? Welcome back to yet another video. 2023 is quickly coming to an end. I wanted to finish off the year with my just over a year review on my 2023 FL5 Type R. We're going to talk about how the car's been, what I've done to the car so far, and where we're headed from here. So let's get right into it. I picked up my car down in LA just October 31st of last year. So year and a month and a half, let's call it. It's been fantastic. I absolutely love the car, but I knew I would. Just the same way as I knew I would love my FK8 when I had it. The question I get more often than not is the comparison between the FK8 and the FL5. I'll start the video by saying this, okay? Both are amazing vehicles, okay? This doesn't have to be about whether the FL5 Type R is better than the FK8, because some of that stuff is going to be subjective, like looks, and some of it is going to be preferences, like what's more important to you. What's more important to someone like me, those things may not be as important to somebody else. I'll give you an example. I could care less about how the speakers sound in any of my cars because I don't listen to the radio. I don't really listen to music in my car, namely because it's usually too loud, and I'd much rather listen to the engine and the revs and downshifting, upshifting, all that stuff. All the fun stuff that car guys like listening to. That's all I really care about. So how the speakers sound is completely irrelevant. Now, I've heard by many sources and many people that the sound system in the FL5 Type R is a lot better than the FK8. I don't know. I don't care. So again, everything I'm going to share with you today is based on my opinion and my experience with the FL5 Type R, having come from the FK8 with a lot of experience there. Okay, so having said that, let's get into it. In so many words, how I would describe the FL5 Type R is an FK8 plus from a performance standpoint. Do I, in my heart of hearts, believe that the FL5 is a better performing car? Yes. Yes, I do. And it isn't just based on my experience. This is based on what I've been seeing out in the media. Nürburgring aside, because there's some speculation there. But just what I've seen from people that I know personally, teams that I've seen run the FK8 and the FL5 Type R, just on average, okay? On average, the FL5 Type R platform is seconds, in some case, seconds faster than the FK8, okay? The Nürburgring is one track. That's one type of track. It's long, it's sweepy, mostly high speed, okay? That's not going to be indicative of how well it's going to perform on back roads, on your local track. You might have a shorter track with more curves. It's simply a measuring stick. It's a data point. That's all it is. So, having said that, my Type R has been fantastic. It's been very comfortable. It's all those things you heard in other reviews. It's a lot nicer interior. The seats are still fantastic, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but I think they're even better than the FK8. And the FK8 seats were amazing. I love the all red carpets. It just harkens back to that old JDM Type R feel. I love it. Absolutely love it. The styling, this is where it gets a little more subjective. I loved the subdued styling of the FL5 because I then knew what I did to it from there would be more of an expression of how I wanted the car to look. It was more of a blank canvas, if you will. The FK8 was just aggressive from the start, right? And I think it's kind of comical in some ways that you know, there's a pretty strong divide in the Type R community among some people, among a lot of people, mainly current FK8 owners that say, oh, the FK8's better and it looks better, and I get it, guys, I get it. I totally get it. But I do find it a little bit funny that people were complaining about all the fake vents and the fake this and the fake that on the FK8. And now Honda listened to you, took all the fake vents away, and you're still complaining. Just the nature of human beings, I suppose. But anyways, let's go through the list of mods that I have done on this car, because I'm not going to remember all of it off the top of my head, and I don't want to miss anything. All right, so one of the first mods that we did to the car is the Eibach Pro Kit springs for the FK8. Okay, very key point here. FK8 springs, and I'm going to show you the rear versus the front. It's sagging, okay? And when you go over bumps, there's a clunking noise. In short, the springs just aren't right for the car. Now, I've been talking about this for some time. I have coilovers coming. Actually, the coilovers are physically here in the US, just haven't gotten them installed yet. That's a story for another day. But the other mod, Apex VS5RS, these are the 19 by 9.5 plus 45s. My track wheel setup is the same spoke pattern, but it's in the Motorsports Gold 18 by 10.5 plus 47. Okay, so these are the 19s plus 45. Lots of clearance, tons of clearance. Okay, front and back. On my 18 by 10.5, I have 275 35 tires on those, and there's still clearance. So I'm pretty sure on my track set I can run 295 squared once I get my coilovers in and everything properly adjusted. My track tires were the Falcon Azenis RT660. I'll probably be switching to either CRS or RE71 RSs. Not quite sure yet, but to go to the Meteor tire, might have to go to the RE71 RSs. Let's go to the front here. I have my PRL intercooler I've had to replace this once. I will touch on that in a minute and explain why I've had to replace this. But it was kind of a scary, not fun story. Let's pop the hood. All right, one of my favorite parts about my engine compartment here is it looks very OEM. Very OEM-ish, okay? I would love for this engine bay to look more dressed up, but in California, it's a bit of a problem. So, as far as mods are concerned, I have my two-step performance downpipe that's down here. It's very inconspicuous. It's fantastic. I can't recommend that downpipe enough because it does not hinder performance at all with the high flow cat. It does not restrict anything. It's rated for up to 800 horsepower. I doubt anyone's going to be putting that much power through this engine. I really doubt it. So fantastic, and it's Cerakoted, so it's nice and protected from the heat. Spoon thermostat, which you can't really see, but that just allows the coolant to open all the way a little sooner in the temperature range. Spoon rigid collars, that's the suspension. PWR race spec radiator, which is this guy right here. Okay, there is a street version of this radiator. If you track your car, this is totally fine to drive on the street. I have had zero issues with daily driving this radiator. None. Okay, it might be a couple of degrees warmer than the street version if you're just daily driving it, but if you track your car, this is an absolute must. R660 turbo, I blew it. Not the turbo's fault. The OEM bypass valve failed while I was on track, and that caused the turbo problem, and I blew the turbo. Now, when the turbo blew, shrapnel from the turbo went absolutely everywhere, and oil coming from the turbo went absolutely everywhere. So all the charge pipe, the intake, the inlet pipe, the intercooler. So when we cleaned everything out, there was just, we didn't want to risk it. So there was still shrapnel that was stuck in the other PRL intercooler. Didn't want to risk that stuff going into the engine. So I just went ahead and replaced it. We cleaned it out as best as we could, the old one, but I didn't feel comfortable putting that back in the car. So we got a new one, got a new intake, stage 1 PRL intake. And yeah, it's been absolutely bulletproof ever since. That was definitely a bullet that was dodged, because I thought for sure I blew my motor, but thank God it was just the turbo, which still sucked because it was a very expensive problem, but it could have been much worse. Definitely could have been much worse. So now we got the MHI. Horsepower is tuned on Hondata. Peppo Basosa with Red Star Motoring and Ant at Hybrid Works, they are the ones that exclusively tune my car. Absolutely fantastic guys to work with. They're absolutely amazing. Among the most knowledgeable when it comes to these engines, specifically the K20C. I can't recommend anybody enough. Guys, if you're in North America, or sorry, if you're in Northern California, go see Ant. If you're outside of Northern California, talk to Peppo. Okay, and that's the best way I can say it. All right, and on to one of my absolute favorite mods is a Paragon big brake kit. Absolutely love this kit. I am shocked at how good this brake system is. I had the AP brake kit on my FK8. Absolutely loved that brake kit on that car too. That was one of my favorite mods on the FK8. This is every bit as good. Every bit as good. I'll say it again. This brake kit is every bit as good as the AP brake kit for the Type R. Can't say for other vehicles, but for the Type R, this is absolutely worth it. And what's great about Paragon, they have a rear big brake kit too. It utilizes the OEM caliper, but it has a bracket to make the radius adaptable for the new disc. So this is the Paragon rear brake kit as well. Front and rear Paragon brake kit will be less than just the AP front brake kit for the Type R. And there's no compromises. The only thing I will say, the one thing I will say is the rotors. You will wear through the Paragon rotors quicker than you will the AP rotors. But no warping, no weird vibration, nothing like that. It's still a fantastic rotor. It just wears out a little bit quicker, that's all. So just one thing to keep in mind, but honestly, the cost differential between this and an AP kit, this is an absolute no-brainer. Absolute no-brainer. Exhaust. I went with the Miltech Touring Plus. So that's the partially resonated Miltech exhaust. These are the standard stainless steel tips. And my hesitation of getting this exhaust at first was because of the angled tips, but I discovered later that the tips actually line up perfectly with the OEM diffuser, so it actually looks like it's flat when it's not. It's perfect. I absolutely love this exhaust. And with the sound controller that you buy separately, it's an absolute game changer for me, because then you can open and close the valve when you want it. You don't have to rely on the rev range to determine whether your exhaust valve is open or not. And it's perfect for track going purposes, because then I can open or close it and adjust my loudness as I need it, depending on the track that I'm on. So love the sound of this exhaust. I've heard other Type R, FL5 Type R exhausts in person. I would say the other exhaust that I really like, I just didn't care for the two-tip design, is the Apexi exhaust. Sounds really, really good. I like the sound of that exhaust as well. But the dual tip, it looks better in person. It's just that I feel you really need the 3-tip to fill in the space. You can't really make a 2-tip large enough to really take up the space that's back here. And that's the only thing. Again, it's subjective. That's a personal thing. So if you like the 2-tip design, I really like the Apexi exhaust as well. All right, another mod kind of on the outside. There's part of it right there. But I have the full RV6, all the rear suspension upgrade components. Okay, so from RV6, I have the rear chromoly adjustable sway bar with the billet end links. I have the rear lower control arms, the rear knuckle spherical bushing, and the rear lower B-arm. And also soon to be installed, which I haven't done yet, but I do have it at home, is the solid front compliance mounts. All right, and finishing up the outside, that full APR Aero kit. I can't say enough. I love the way this APR Aero kit turned out. I mean, this lip is much more aggressive in person than I realized, which is a good thing. It actually does do something on track. I did feel a difference. I wasn't sure if I would, but that's about 2 inches further out than the OEM lip. You do feel a difference. The canards are fantastic. They screw in, they don't just tape on, which is really great. I mean, if you don't mind holes in your bumper, but I don't plan on changing that setup, so that's going to stay there. The side skirts and everything is like high quality carbon fiber. I really love the construction. Everything fits perfectly. It's seamless. There's no gaps. I mean, it just fits so nicely. The the rear strake or rear splat, and of course the GT250 wing. Absolutely love the way this whole kit turned out. And I know APR is coming out with a swan neck version of this. I'm not 100% sure if I want to change it. I really like the way this looks on this car, but we'll see. We'll see. You know, famous last words. I might end up changing it anyways. Lastly, on the outside, I mean, come on, guys. Tell me this urban bamboo wrap. For any of you who have seen this car in person, I mean, it gives you chills when you see how gorgeous this wrap is in person. There's colors going on here that you can never fully capture on camera. But the gold flake, there's some greens, there's some blues. You know, depending on the angle and how much light you have reflecting, you might catch just a tiny bit of purple. I mean, this is just beautiful. I am so happy with the way this turned out. And Calvin with CI Wraps in Sacramento, he did the work on this wrap for me. He's an absolute consummate professional. I can't recommend him enough. I mean, he really spent the time. He took everything apart, put it back together. He catalogs everything. He doesn't lose any screws. He replaces, and he'll even go as far as to replacing clips and stuff that you're missing if you were doing mods to your car before and you broke a clip or something. It's like he pays that much attention to detail. And it's, you know, I mean, it's all in the details. I mean, look at this. You don't see any wrap edges anywhere on here. Anywhere. I mean, he goes, look at this. I mean, who would actually look in here? You know, even when you look at the hood, I mean, he goes around the corners. And the only way that you can do that is by removing body panels. So as long as you trust your guy to be able to basically take apart your car and put it back together again, then I mean, somebody like Calvin is absolutely the way to do it. Love this color. Absolutely love this color. The wrap is made by Inozatec Urban Bamboo. It's actually a Porsche paint to sample color. I believe that's where they got the idea from. Inozatec likes doing a lot of Porsche colors, and I can't blame them. I mean, my goodness. I smile every time I see this car. All right, and last but certainly not least, the interior. So not a whole lot going on in here except for this guy. This is my hybrid racing short shifter kit. Okay, and this is with the competition rod. So this, probably the last time you guys saw this was all exposed, and this Alcantara boot was not there. So there's a way to do this. So this is not physically connected. This still moves up and down. But this, oh my God, this is definitely one of my favorite mods on my car so far, is this short shifter kit by Hybrid Racing. And I wasn't sure how I'd feel about the competition rod, but I love it. I love it because it goes directly into the short shifter, and it's not a twist on knob. So that's just one less variable you would have to come loose. Okay, so as we're wrapping up this video, one more thing I want to touch on. Lap times. How did this car compare lap time wise to my FK8? Okay, same driver, same tracks. Okay, similar temperatures. I can't say exactly the same because there were probably some differences. But the difference is my FK8, when I set my personal bests, my PBs, that was at its most developed point in the FK8. Okay, so I went sub 150 at Sonoma. I went sub 140 at Laguna Seca. I went sub 2 minutes at Thunderhill East in the FK8 after 2.5 years of ownership. Okay, I broke those records. Well, except for Sonoma. I haven't taken my FL5 to Sonoma yet. But I broke those records by a decent margin in my FL5 Type R that's not nearly as modified. Okay? Similar power level, similar-ish power level, but the suspension isn't there. That's definitely not sorted out yet. And the Aero is mostly there, but I don't have as much of a front splitter as I would like, so that would be a thing. And there's other, power mods that would help with boost response and that sort of thing that haven't been released yet by PRL. So kind of goes back to my initial point, right? The FL5, in my experience, is just a faster car on a racetrack, okay? And I've seen it faster in a lot of other hands than the FK8 on a racetrack as well. So if that matters to you, great. Even if it does matter to you and you have an FK8, keep it if you like it, okay? If you like your FK8, keep it. It's a great car. You will never go wrong with that vehicle, okay? And there's a very high likelihood that you're unlikely to really see a significant difference between an FK8 and an FL5 unless you're just pushing the absolute edge of disaster every time you're going out on track. I'm just a lunatic, and that's what I like to do. So anyways, that is it for today's video, guys. Thank you for joining me on this journey. 1 year, 2023 FL5 Type R ownership. Until next time, stay hungry, stay fast, stay tuned. I'm Michael Baxi for 2023, and I'm out.
Okay, I've been working like 3 jobs. Probably why I never see ya. Probably why I never have time for the fake friends that won't be ya. Oh God, I've been running now. Up early when the sun is out. Not setting out my own soul, but those real ones, they coming out. Oh, look who's reaching out. Old friends wanna feature now. They don't work, so they need it free. Ooh, you reaching out from the west side of that old town, but it's